Now to a story that you will see only on 3. A North Carolina man pleading guilty to sex trafficking of a 14-year-old and transportation of child pornography. Now, after a sting involving Hampton Police on News 3, our News 3 investigative team has been taking an in-depth look into the problem of human trafficking here. And News 3 investigator Zach Dahlheimer breaks down the story. He joins us now in the studio. And Zach, this is such a disturbing story involving a 14-year-old.
Yes, a 14-year-old girl. And our fellow investigator, Margaret Kavanaugh, got the hands on these documents right here related to Anthony Jermaine Foman. Now, Foman will be sentenced this upcoming January in Norfolk and faces anywhere from 15 years to life in prison. Meanwhile, we talked with Hampton police officers involved with the investigation about the issue at large of human trafficking and what they're doing to get a hand on the issue.
If you're not watching for it, it can unfold right in front of your eyes and you won't even realize it.
This week, Hampton Police talking about a case involving this man, Anthony Jermaine Foman, who recently pleaded guilty to sex trafficking of a minor and transportation of child pornography.
Our victim in the case was a 14-year-old runaway from Ohio.
Documents News 3 obtained say it started on December 15th, 2020, when officers found an ad for a woman and arranged to meet at a hotel on Mercury Boulevard for sex. When they got there, they found the girl, another woman, and eventually Foman hiding behind a bathroom door.
I saw him at the hotel when we first during the hotel operation. Very calm and laid back, not really, he kind of disassociated himself from knowing what was going on inside the hotel room.
Through further investigation, officers found out Foman met the girl a month prior on social media. He took her out to eat, had sex with her, and asked her to come with him and promised to take care of her, while discussing with her plans to prostitute herself in different places. The documents go on to say Foman took the girl to 6 states up and down the East Coast, from Delaware down to Florida, to prostitute herself. At some point, she told Foman to take her home. However, he would not, but told her she could leave. Ultimately, she called an aunt to pick her up in Florence, South Carolina, and returned home around December 29th last year. Now, earlier this year, Hampton Police got felony warrants for Foman's arrest on state charges, and Foman was arrested on January 30th in South Carolina and extradited back to Hampton. Authorities say Foman admitted to being a pimp, and eventually child pornography involving the girl and himself were found on his phone.
It was an eye-opener.
Hampton officers say human trafficking is a widespread issue happening throughout the country.
I think it's people not knowing what to look for, and then parents not knowing what their kids are doing. With our victim, she was met on a social media website. He basically befriended her.
January 2020 to December 2020, so last year we had about 7 cases involving minors. In the past 6 months, just from January 2021 to June of 2021, we've had 15 cases involving minors.
Why the rise?
It really is hard to say because, unfortunately, in human sex trafficking, the ways in which people are brought into it can vary from a lot of different avenues.
Investigators say it's important to understand how suspects groom victims, especially when it comes to social media.
Social media is immense in the grooming and the access to children. It may appear harmless, and it's important to not only understand what these websites are capable of, but also understand what the children are also capable of hiding. There's numerous applications that can help you hide that you're on Tinder by disguising it as a calculator application or by hiding it within various folders that might not appear readily as social media. Something as harmless as a video game like Minecraft or Roblox can be the breeding site for grooming and for child predators.
Which is why partnerships within law enforcement and nonprofits are vital, and why we need to speak up whenever possible.
Some of the victims can't speak for themselves. Some of these victims are being threatened, their families are being threatened. These victims need a voice, and sometimes they can't have the voice themselves.
Yeah, an important thing, Kurt, that the police had mentioned are the partnerships that were involved, especially with this case. They mentioned Newport News, the FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia, as well as the Department of Homeland Security, along with the Hampton Roads Human Trafficking Task Force, which we touched on, including that data you heard from one of the police officers showing the rise in youth victims from 2020 to 2021.
All right, so we've seen how our police departments are cracking down on this. Are there other ways that they are taking action?
So they are going out and educating hotels, like going to cleaning staffs, managers, owners of hotels within the city, saying these are the things things you need to be looking for. And if you see anything suspicious, to contact local law enforcement immediately. Also, police are really big about working with nonprofits to help victims of human trafficking, providing them with shelter, medical needs, food, counseling, and drug rehab services.
So I know parents right now, their heads may be spinning thinking, okay, my kid knows more about their cell phone than I do. How am I going to find these apps that are hidden? So they've got to have a frank conversation with their kids. But what are some of the other resources that are out there for the victims?
Well, one group that we've highlighted in our past investigations is Samaritan House. They've been going out of their way to help a lot of victims, especially youth victims of trafficking. Even they have plans to open up housing for youth trafficking victims in Hampton Roads. They have resources including a hotline. We also have the National Human Trafficking Hotline on our website, and you can find it right there on your screen, 1-888-373-7888.
Zach, thank you so much. Our WTKR.com website, we have lots of resources to help those impacted by human trafficking as well as past investigations on this issue.